it's my great honor to introduce to you Maggie Downey. She's the administrator of the Cape Light Compact, a nationally recognized award-winning energy services organization operated by the 21 towns on the Cape and Islands, and Cape and the Vineyard, I'm sorry, just the Vineyard. So used to saying Cape and Islands, it just flowed out of my mouth. The Compact's mission is to serve its 200,000 customers through the delivery of proven energy efficiency programs, effective consumer advocacy, and renewable competitive electricity supply. She earned her Master's of Public Administration from the University of Washington in Seattle and holds a graduate certificate in management from Harvard Extension School. She's been working on energy-related issues for over 20 years. She brings with her Dan Schell, a senior analyst at CLC, where he oversees all demand response programs and residential HVAC products and behavior programs. Prior to his time at the Compact, he served as the program coordinator for AmeriCorps Cape Cod program. He has a Bachelor of Arts degree from St. Mary's of Maryland and is one semester away from his Master's in Public Policy at UMass Dartmouth. A couple of ground rules. The programs that we'll hear about apply to homes anywhere in Massachusetts, although we'll be focusing, of course, on the Cape and Vineyard. Everyone will be muted, and please ask your questions in the chat. Carrie and Jenny will monitor that, and we'll ask questions. If we see something that comes up during the presentation, we might interrupt. Generally, we tend to save those till the end, and we hope to have a vigorous conversation when we are done. And with that, take it away, Maggie.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm at home as opposed to the office. I'm trying to, hopefully it isn't too dark. We are going to walk you through a slide deck that we've put together and talk through it. It's a lot of information. I realize that, and we'll be happy to share it with you, Jeff, so that you can post it and so that everybody has the actual slides. So I think we'll need to, if we're not already, authorize Dan Schell to share his screen because he's going to be the MC as I walk through the slides.
Yeah, it looks like I need permission to be able to share.
You're in, Dan.
Perfect.
Do you need it, Maggie?
No, but just Dan.
Okay. All right, Dan, take it away. Nice to meet you. Welcome.
All right, thanks. So as Jeff said, I'm Maggie Downey. I'm the administrator of the Cape Light Compact, and I have been with the Cape Light Compact since it was formed by vote of town meeting and town council back in 1997. So they've been with the Cape Light Compact a long time as our programs developed. Go to the next slide. So we consider we have a three-legged stool of who the Cape Light Compact is. We offer a competitive power supply option. We run the energy efficiency programs here on the Cape and Vineyard. We also advocate for consumers. And we are made up of a board, a representative from each town sits on the board of directors, as well as having staff that actually run and administer and implement the programs. But we have 22 member board, but 21 municipal aggregation members. That's every town on the Cape. So the 15 Cape towns and the 6 towns on the Vineyard, as I said, got together in 1996 where we started this. And again, the intent was, we saw that Massachusetts was deregulating the electric utility industry, and we realized two things. One, we wanted to make sure that the energy efficiency funds that were collected from all of us as electric ratepayers stayed on the Cape and Vineyard and were reinvested in the Cape and Vineyard as opposed to going into a larger pool of funds. We wanted to make sure that what we paid for came back and stayed in our communities. And also the boards of selectmen and town council saw a role for the town and the compact to negotiate an electric supply agreement, because early on they recognized that individual consumers would not have a lot of clout negotiating with suppliers, but together as an aggregated load, we have clout. So that's how Cape Light, just a brief trip down memory lane, how the Cape Light Compact was formed. As I said, each of our board members are appointed by the Board of Selectmen or Town Council. And some they serve at varying terms, staggered. Some are appointed until they wish to step down. Others have annual appointments. We were the first municipal aggregator in the United States back in 1997. And we were also the first municipal aggregator in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Right now, we have 351 cities, in case you didn't know, in Massachusetts, and over half of them have become municipal aggregators in the last 5 to 7 years. But we are the only group of municipal aggregator and group of towns that have applied for and received approval by the Department of Public Utilities to administer the ratepayer funded energy efficiency programs. And that is about 99% of what the staff does. Negotiating a power supply contract is challenging, but once it's done and it's set for years. So most of us work on energy or day-to-day activities focus on energy efficiency programs. And Dan's going to walk you through all of the programs. We function in 3-year increments on the energy efficiency side. We just had our budget and plan approved for 22 to 2024 calendar years. So we have a 3-year budget, 3-year programs. And you may recognize, you might not know Cape Light Compact, but you might hopefully recognize the brand Mass Save. We are a sponsor of Mass Save. Mass Save isn't an entity. We, the Cape Light Compact and the other 8 investor-owned utilities partnered together to create Mass Save so that we would have one entry point and a name recognition throughout the Commonwealth. We are local here. All of our staff work on the Cape or right over the bridge, and our offices are located right here in South Yarmouth on White's Path. So why don't you go to the next slide, Dan? How are energy efficiency programs funded? Well, basically it's our money. Every single person who has an electric bill or resident business that has an electric bill in Massachusetts pays into this fund. This is a sample electric bill. Right here, and you can see the highlighted section in yellow shows what an energy efficiency program costs per month for a residential customer. You pay for it on your electric bill. Eversource collects the funds and then turns them over to the Cape Light Compact to run our ratepayer, our approved energy efficiency programs. The process for approving these plans is highly regulated. We just came through review last fall by the Department of Public Utilities. So it's a fully adjudicated process with stakeholders, the Attorney General's office, Division of Energy and Environmental Resources. Lots of parties review our budgets and our programs very closely to make sure that everything is cost effective and that we are being good stewards of ratepayer funds. The next slide, Dan, if you want to advance, is going to turn it over. Before I turn it over to Dan, I want to kind of set the stage about what's happening in Massachusetts relative to climate policies. In June, I think it was June of last year, the state legislature passed and the governor signed into law an act creating a next generation roadmap for Massachusetts climate policy known as the Climate Act. And this pretty much rocked our world in the energy efficiency side of business because it significantly changed what we are required to do through the delivery of our energy efficiency programs. And specifically, it set a greenhouse gas emissions reduction goal for the Cape Light Compact. Our jobs have been saving kilowatt hours, reducing your overall energy bill by saving kilowatt hours, which then lowers your bill, and through all of these things, making your homes more comfortable and more energy efficient. But the Climate Act and then the governor's draft climate plan said to the Cape Light Compact and the investor-owned utilities, you now have to track greenhouse gas emissions because we have a climate emergency here in Massachusetts, and we need to reduce, in order to comply with other state laws, the Global Warming Solutions Act, we need to reduce our emissions significantly. And specifically, one of the things that this plan requires is the electrification of 1 million homes in Massachusetts by 2050 and up to 400 million square feet of commercial building space. That is a very, very aggressive goal. You might think, like myself, electrify, electric heat. Wait a minute. I remember back in the 70s when everybody was like, oh, electrify. It was going to be too cheap to meter. Never happened. And electricity is from natural gas or from coal. Part of the Climate Act requirement is the pursuit of renewable energy to produce our electricity, to move us off of the majority of our electricity comes right now from combined cycle natural gas plants, but to bring in two very important things, offshore wind and hydro from Canada. The Canadian hydro line through Maine was recently dealt a setback. They are looking at other alternatives. But again, it is the goal, the state law is now to electrify, something called strategic electrification, electrify our homes and businesses while we're greening up how you produce electricity. As I talked about earlier, a minute ago, Dan just put up the slide of how many metric tons of CO2 we have to reduce by 2030, which is right around the corner. And then you can see it's 474,000 metric tons, and the Cape Light Compact's allocation is approximately 23,000 metric tons of reduction in GHG emissions. 148% of the goal allocation. So our plan, our board went very aggressive in this plan and is proposing to exceed that. They are very concerned. Many of your towns, you may know, on the Cape Vineyard have both energy committees and climate committees. So they're working very hard to try and not only hit our goal and our target, but exceed it through the programs that Dan is going to talk about right now. So Dan, I'm going to go to the next slide. I'm going to turn it over to you. And I just want to ask you to think about these as we go through a lot of information on the slides. As I said, you pay for these programs every month, whether you pay your electric bill or if you're renting your home in the summer, your guests pay for these programs. What we're going to talk about is two things. A great way for you to get a return on your investment is to participate in the energy efficiency programs that you're paying for. The programs change constantly. You may, something that you might have done 10 years ago, you may, by having a home energy assessment, may be able to take advantage of some new technologies, ways to improve the comfort of your home, green up your home, and save money eventually on your overall electric bill. So that's the stage that we're going to set as we walk through these programs. The Cape and the Vineyard have a really big challenge. We have 49% of our residential properties are second homeowners. That's compared to 2% statewide. So I am so excited to be talking to all of you because you are what I call my hard to reach, hard to serve. Potentially second homeowners, and you may not all be, but you're not here. And when you are here, seriously, if you're here for 3 weeks, do you really want somebody coming in, running a blower door test and insulating you? It's hard for me to get in front of you and to encourage you, to get you excited about energy efficiency and to help and to encourage you to participate in these programs and prioritize this on the list of, I know, many things that you have to do in order to get your properties ready. So I will stop talking and turn it over to Dan right now and let him walk you through the slides. But before I do that, there's lots of questions. So are we just going to go through everything, Jeff, and then take questions? What are we doing?
Yeah, I'm keeping track of the questions, Maggie, and at the end, I'll bring them all up if that works for you.
That's perfect for me. All right,
Okay.
Dan, you're up.
Perfect. Thanks, Maggie. All right. So, Maggie kind of, I think, set the lay of the land and the high level overview of what the Cape Light Compact is. But what we're going to run through in these next couple of slides is really where the rubber meets the road. And really why you're all probably here is wondering what can Mass Save and what can Cape Light Compact do for me and for my business to really help save costs, make my business greener and my home greener, and reduce energy costs. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about on these slides. In the home energy assessment is really, sort of the first touch point for most of our customers. The goal here is to really have our energy specialists come into your home. It's a no-cost offer, a no-cost program upfront. We come and we do a holistic assessment of your home. We look at your weatherization levels. We look at the efficiency of your appliances. We look at the efficiency of your heating system, the combustion safety of your heating system. And then those energy specialists are providing a recommendation list of what are the actions that you should take to make your home more energy efficient. And then they provide not just recommendations, but incentives and rebates and offers to help you actually make those changes to your home. And so, again, the home energy assessment is a no-cost assessment. We have virtual and in-person options, depending on what your preference is. If you want, if you don't want someone in the home, they can do it via like a FaceTime or even a Zoom call. There's lots of different options that are available to customers. So really the first and largest recommendation that we typically see come out of a home energy assessment, especially some of our older housing stock here on the Cape, is weatherization. And so weatherization is really two different things. The first is air sealing. So anywhere where outside air can penetrate into the inside of the home, we're looking to seal up those gaps. So those could be places where there's wires coming through an exterior wall, or if there's a hole leading to a recessed light in an attic, looking to seal those. And we do that work at no cost to you as a customer. The other piece of that is insulation. So, adding additional insulation to walls in the attic. And that's something that we cover 75% of the cost for market rate customers, and then 100% for income qualified customers and renters. And then, so Maggie talked a lot about our need to electrify 1 million homes before 2030. And the way that we're going to do that is by hopefully transitioning those homes from oil, propane, and natural gas over to heat pumps. So if you're not familiar with heat pumps, especially the newer technology, the cold climate heat pumps that are out there today, they basically use the same technology that your refrigerator uses or window ACs use. They're basically using a refrigerant to collect latent heat from the air, condense that heat, and then push it inside in the winter or pull it outside in the summer. So they're a great efficient option, unlike traditional heating systems where you can only ever max out at 100% efficiency because you're combusting energy to get it out. This is simply just moving heat. So you can get up to like a 300% efficiency with these systems. We're going to talk a little bit about the rebates that are available on the next slide. But like I said, because of that efficiency, they're on the whole cheaper to operate than oil, propane, or electric resistance. I know, especially as folks have maybe gotten oil delivered recently, they've seen how prices have been skyrocketing this year. And so they're definitely a cheaper alternative to operate for home heating. You only have to worry about one system. You get heating and cooling in one option, whereas traditionally, if you had a natural gas furnace and a central AC, you had to worry about two different systems. And paying for both of those and maintaining both of those, whereas this, you get it all in one system. And what we think is one of the most exciting pieces, and maybe hopefully you're interested as part of greening your rental, is reducing the home's carbon footprint. Just like Maggie said, the great thing about heat pumps is that the more we green our electric supply, the more green heat pumps become as an option for heating and cooling your home, with the goal of hopefully being 100% renewable. They're an even better option if you already have solar, if you're already producing energy on site, as a way to utilize that renewable energy, as opposed to still having to pay for oil or propane or something like that. And then there's just a wide variety of different systems available. We're going to talk very briefly about, a ground source system where you're extracting heat from the ground versus an air source system. And then there's lots of different ways that you can put these into your home. A lot of people are probably familiar with the mini split systems where there might be a distribution head up on the wall. You can integrate them with a ducted system. There's a lot of ways to make them work in your home. So what everyone always wants to hear is, well, what rebates do you have available? What money can I actually get for putting this in my home? And so we really have two pathways for customers. For air source heat pumps, we know there's still a lot of customers that have concerns about these operating at lower temperatures. So they want to have that backup system. They want to keep their oil, propane, or natural gas boiler furnace in place. And for those customers, we have what's called our partial home rebate, which is this $1,250 per ton amount. And that just requires that the two systems are basically interconnected through something like a dual fuel thermostat, which allows the systems to switch back and forth in the heating season, depending on what the outside temperature is. So you may be wondering, what the heck is a ton? Well, a ton is the size of the system, how much heat it can provide to a home. Here on the Cape over the last 2 years, the average size system that we've seen come through is 3 tons, which is an average rebate of $3,750. For other customers who are ready to sort of jump off the deep end with heat pumps and want to make the full transition to heat pumps as their sole source of heating and cooling for their home, we have a $10,000 rebate, which helps defray a significant amount of the cost depending on the system size to get to install these for your home. And just as a reminder, not only are you getting cooling, you're getting heating as well for that home. We do require for these whole home offers that customers weatherize their home through the home energy assessment that we mentioned previously prior to doing this rebate. But again, that's something that we're covering a significant portion of the cost as well. And you're going to be able to install a smaller system if your home's been fully weatherized, which is going to reduce the cost further to you on the front end. And then if a customer is looking to do a ground source heat pump, because those are a little more extensive to install, there's a bit of a higher cost to the customer. So we have a $15,000 rebate for those systems. If you currently have oil, propane, natural gas water heating, or maybe just an old inefficient electric water heater, a great option to switch to is a heat pump water heater. It uses that exact same space heating technology of the heat pumps we were just talking about, and it uses that technology to heat your water. You can see in this photo, that's actually what's sitting on top of that unit is the actual heat pump system. And the way that these work is a little bit different, unlike a lot of the rebates that we'll talk about where you would install the system and then you would submit for a rebate. These are actually what we call instant savings through our, we partner with distributors to provide the discount directly to the contractor on the front end. So you as the customer get that discount up front. You just need to make sure you're communicating with your contractor that you want a heat pump water heater and that they're purchasing it from a participating distributor so that you get that $750 discount. That discount paired with tax incentives that are out there for these systems make them either cost competitive or sometimes even cheaper than a traditional electric resistance hot water heater. And the benefit is that water heating is typically the second largest energy use in a home. These are 3 times more efficient on average than a traditional electric resistance system where it's relying strictly on that resistance coil to heat the water. If you're maybe not ready to make the jump to a heat pump, I hope most of you are, but if for some reason you're not and you like your traditional fossil fuel heating systems, we do also still have rebates on that. If we certainly know that customers may still be interested in keeping those systems. So we want to make sure that if you're doing that you're using the most efficient systems that are out there when you're upgrading. So we do have for oil customers, we have furnace rebates. We do not unfortunately have an oil boiler rebate, and that's simply because the baseline for oil boilers is pretty much a flat line. There's not really an energy efficient version of an oil boiler compared to the baseline models that are out there. For propane, we have a number of options with both boilers and furnaces. Combined systems, you'll hear a contractor refer to as combi systems, where the hot water and the space heating system is working together in one unit. One thing to note for these fossil fuel systems is that we have 2 tiers of rebates. If you currently have what's known as a non-condensing system, so if you have a traditional vented system versus one that has the PVC vented system, a direct vent system, then you'd be eligible for this higher rebate. And the reason for that is there's a lot more energy savings to be gleaned from upgrading to what's called a condensing system. To access these enhanced rebates, you have to start with the home energy assessment and have that system verified before applying for the rebate and upgrading that system. The standard rebate, you can just install the system and apply without having the assessment. For oil and propane water heater, water heating, if you have an indirect water heater connected to your boiler, you can get a $400 rebate to upgrade to those systems. And then for the on-demand tankless systems, if you have propane currently on site, you can get a $700 rebate to access that. And then for natural gas customers, these are all fairly similar to what we talked about with propane. We should note, like Maggie said, that Mass Save as a whole is really sort of a conglomeration of Cape Light Compact and in the rest of the state, the utilities. On Cape Cod, the natural gas programs, these offers are actually administered by the gas utility, National Grid. But we know there's a lot of folks out there who are probably interested in this, so we wanted to make sure we got this information to you. But again, options for both boilers and furnaces out there, and the process is the same. To access that enhanced rebate, you have to have your existing system verified as non-condensing during an assessment, and then the standard rebate you do not. And then similar on the water heating side, we have options for a traditional natural gas storage system for $100, on-demand tankless systems for $700, and condensing water heater for $500. We have a number of thermostats and products that are available. We still have, I think, one of the larger smart thermostat rebates that's out there in the country, which is for, if you're familiar with Google Nest or Ecobee, we have a $100 rebate on those systems. You can also purchase them direct from the Mass Save store, and the discount is actually applied, the rebate's applied directly when you check out. So a lot of times, especially if we're running promotions, which I know we have some coming up for Earth Day, if there's promotions available, sometimes you can snag really nice smart thermostats for as low as like $9.99 on that website. If you're a little scared of the newer technology with the smart thermostat, you can also get traditional programmable to upgrade your home for $25 a unit. And then we have a number of Energy Star certified appliances out there. So you can see the rebate amounts here for dehumidifiers, electric dryers, window ACs, room air cleaners or purifiers. And then we do also have a rebate for clothes washers. This, similar to some of the fossil fuel rebates we talked about, you do have to have the inefficiency of the existing system verified. To get that rebate, your system has to currently be a top loading washer with an agitator, which would be verified during the home energy assessment. And then when you replace that with an Energy Star model, you could access the $150 rebate to make that upgrade. And then if maybe you're looking to get rid of some of your old appliances, we do have two different recycling programs. The first is we'll actually come to your home and pick up your old fridge or freezer, and we'll give you $75 to do that. The one note here is that they do have to be operating. They can't be broken or inoperable, and we have to check that before you pick them up. And then we do host throughout the Cape, typically in the spring through the early fall, dehumidifier turn-in. So if you have an old dehumidifier lying around, or maybe you took advantage of the rebate and upgraded to a new energy efficient model, we do have turn-ins. So be sure to check our website for those. We post them in our events page as they come up, and you can turn those in, and we give you $30 back for turning in those systems on top of the $30 to purchase a new one. So then new this year, these are two offers we didn't have previously. The first is for windows. So if during an assessment, the energy specialist notices that you have single pane, they record how many single pane windows you have, and then you can access $75 per window to upgrade those to triple pane windows, Energy Star certified triple pane windows. This offer isn't up just yet. It should be here in the next month. But if that's something you're interested in, you definitely want to get in that home energy assessment pipeline to have those windows verified. If you have lawn equipment on site, or maybe you're doing your own lawn care for your rentals, we are also encouraging people to get off of gas-powered lawn equipment. So we have rebates for battery-powered lawn equipment for lawn mowers, leaf blowers, string trimmers, and chainsaws. And then on top of sort of the traditional rebates, we have what are called our connected solutions programs. The goal of these programs are really in the summer on Cape Cod, we see what's called peak energy use. It's where we use the most energy of the entire year. And what that does, it basically provides a strain on the grid. So the goal of these programs is to reduce that strain, to reduce energy use when we see energy use peaking. And so currently for residential customers, we have 3 different options for them to enroll. So if a customer purchased a smart thermostat, maybe they got a Nest, not only will we give you $100 to make that upgrade, we'll also give you a $25 gift card to enroll in this program, and then a $20 gift card yearly to stay enrolled in the program. And basically what that allows us to do is when we're experiencing one of those peak demand events, we turn the thermostat up 3 degrees. So if you typically have it set at 70, it'll go up to 73 for up to 3 hours, which helps reduce the strain on the grid. If you're interested, if you already have solar, maybe you are looking to get solar and you want to have a battery backup system, we'll also pay you an annual incentive to allow us to discharge that battery into the grid. Typically, if to sort of this rebate amount is a little hard to understand, the $275 per kilowatt, but essentially what we've seen that average out to is between $800 and $900 for a Tesla Powerwall. If you have a single Tesla Powerwall, that's basically the average incentive that we've been seeing customers get from that. And then new this summer, which we're hoping to roll out here in June, is for electric vehicle charging. Again, this isn't an upfront incentive to install a charger, but once you've installed it, you can enroll in this program. And all we do is just ensure that charging isn't happening during those peak events. And we give you $100 upfront to enroll and then $50 to stay enrolled. So not only do we give you rebates on a lot of these different things, but we also want to help you finance the remainder of the cost. So we have the 0 interest Mass Save Heat loan that we offer to eligible customers who qualify for the loan. And essentially you can get up to $25,000 over a 7-year term to make many of the improvements we've talked about here. So this includes financing of insulation and duct sealing, the window upgrades that we've talked about, hot water systems, heating systems, and those residential battery systems that we've talked about. So most of what we've gone over here is our traditional customer-facing market rate offers. We do have enhanced offers for income eligible customers, and that includes things like 100% coverage for weatherization and qualified HVAC and appliance upgrades. If you're thinking about building, we have new construction programs that basically incentivize you to build at a higher energy efficiency requirement over the code in the area. If you're looking to renovate or make an addition to the home, we have incentives to help make those energy efficient upgrades. And then for customers who are actually on commercial rates or businesses in the Cape Vineyard, we have similar programs and offers available to them as well. I think with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Maggie to talk about power supply.
Sure. And before I go down to power supply, the message here is if you have questions, whether you're doing a renovation, an addition, you want a home energy, is to contact the Cape Light Compact. Our information is at the end of the presentation. Sign up for home energy assessment and have a dialogue. There may be a program that what you're doing, the activity that you're pursuing fits right in. So that would be our goal, is that, you think of us when you start, and the earlier, the better. So when you're thinking of your remodel, or you're thinking of adding insulation or replacing your heating system, give us a call. So power supply, as I started earlier on the presentation, that's one of our three-legged stools, is we offer a competitively priced 100% renewable power supply option for residents on the Cape and Vineyard. So we are what we would call your default supplier. Anyone who opens an electric account is automatically enrolled in the Cape Light Compact's power supply program. Then you're sent a notice. It's an opt-out aggregation program, just like it is for the other aggregators in the state of Massachusetts. And you can opt out. So I think I saw a question popped up early on. We know this is a competitive electric market. You can go on the Massachusetts Department of Public Utilities website, and there is a list of licensed competitive suppliers that you can choose from. The Cape Light Compact's website has lots of information geared towards how do you select a competitive supplier? What are some of the pitfalls? What should you be looking at as you go through if you decide to elect a supplier? You can also go on to the distribution company, Eversource for Cape Vineyard, their basic service product as well. So customers have choice on how they want to get their supply. And you also have choices on what type of supply. The Cape Light Compact has our basic power supply program, which is 100% renewable, using, I don't want to get too much into the weeds, it's a REC program, Renewable Energy Certificate program. So it's an attribute. So we buy attributes to match our load, all of the electricity. So we go out and procure RECs to match all of the kWh that are used by the participating customers. And we also have a local green option. So customers can choose to even do more by buying local renewable energy certificates and encouraging local solar projects. These are mostly solar. The landfill, we buy the RECs from all of the land, from the towns, from all of the solar on the landfill. We partner with Habitat for Humanity and buy renewable energy certificates from their homes as well. So this is a typical electric bill. And as you can see on the right, where it says supplier, and then you'll know if you're in the Cape Light Compact's power supply program, because NextEra Energy Services is our supplier that we've selected through a competitive bid. And then you can see that little in the yellow box, it'll say billing for the Cape Light Compact. That's how you know if you're on our supply. If you're not, you can always give us a call and enroll with the Cape Light Compact's power supply program. Want to go to the next slide? So I talked about this. We have three versions: 100% renewable, which is our basic product, 50% renewable, and 100% renewable. Electric rates right now, as I'm sure if anybody has opened up their electric bill in the last month, regardless of where you live, are incredibly high. We are all in the same market, procuring from in this market. Right now, our rates went from 10.4 cents up to 14.6 cents. So that is what we're paying right now. Our rates change every 6 months, just like the distribution, just like Eversource's. We mirror their procurement strategy and the timing of our electric rates. The electric rates are always higher here on the Cape Vineyard in the winter, because as I stated earlier, the majority of the electricity in New England comes from combined cycle natural gas plants. So in the winter, there is competition for heating right now, for heating homes and for providing electricity. So when if you're purchasing electricity with your supplier, depending upon what the market looks like, and the forwards for the weather will also drive prices. I don't know if many of you remember in 2015, we had experiencing something called a polar vortex, which drove prices up through the roof. Similarly, same thing happened in Texas when the grid went down during that cold snap. Prices went through the roof in response to weather. Next slide. So again, already talked about this. Your default supplier for all, we are your default supplier for all new Eversource electric accounts. If you open and close an account, or if you remodel or new construction, you will be enrolled in the Cape Light Compact's power supply program and sent an opt-out card. 65%, so we've been providing a competitive supply option for customers for 20 years. 65% of the time during those 20 years, we've been lower than the Eversource basic service rate. There are times if we've fully hedged and the market crashes, customers can go out and secure a lower price. You have to be a savvy customer and a shopper and pay attention to the term, because frequently what you don't want to happen to is lock into a good rate, and when that rate expires, get put on a market price that can change daily. So again, lots of information on our website about how to select a supplier if that's what you decide to do. Our prices are always posted on the website as well. And I think, Dan, that might be our last slide. So we can now open it up to questions from everyone here.
All right, thank you so much. I've got a whole bunch of questions here. And the first one is just, I think, a basic one, just a quick review of the relationship between Cape Lake Compact, our energy provider, and the people who come to do the audit. Kind of how do you step through all these different players?
So sure. So the Cape Lake Compact and Mass Save, this is the same from whether your home is on the Cape or whether your home is in Fitchburg, anywhere, pick your city. You have two choices for a customer. You can call the Mass Save number and say that you're interested in a home energy assessment, and you can be assigned to what we call our lead vendor. For us here on the Cape, it's Rise Engineering. And they will come out and do your home energy assessment. And then if there's weatherization work, there are a list of qualified contractors that rotate, that get assigned the work. So that is a path that a customer says, I don't know who to choose. I just want to participate in the program. The other path is a customer may be contacted by a Revise or a Clear Result. Those are home performance contractors that are licensed and participate in the program. Our website, just like the list which contractors are participating in the Mass Save program, and you can choose one of those contractors and participate in their program. If you ever have a question, you can always call the Cape Lake Compact. You can check the Mass Save website. If somebody says they're participating, they should be able to produce credentials that says that they're participating in the Mass Save program.
Okay, great. And then kind of building off that, a few people asked about doing an installation themselves as the homeowner. One person currently does not have heat or AC in their cottage, and they would like to add a heat pump and install it themselves. And then someone else wants to install replacement windows themselves. Can they be their own contractor, or how does that work?
I'm going to take a stab at it, but mainly because I want to know the answer myself and make sure I'm getting it right, because this is the first, you're kind of like guinea pigs. This is my first of the next several presentations I'll be doing on that. So Dan, jump in. So the first part of the question, can a homeowner install a heat pump on their own or a heating system on their own and get the rebate? The answer is no. There is a list of qualified contractors for heat pump installations in order to access the rebates. And I believe that is the same for an oil, propane, or natural gas heating system. And they need to be installed by licensed qualified contractors. Dan, am I spot on there?
You're circling the target. So the heat pump installer network that we have is only required if you're doing financing, but you're exactly right that we don't rebate DIY installs. They have to be done by a licensed contractor. If you happen to be a licensed contractor and you're installing it on your home, then that's totally fine, but we do require that it's a licensed contractor doing the install. And then I think there was a second part of the question that I forgot.
It was about installing windows on their own as well.
Yeah, the windows, I don't believe we require to be a contractor. We're honestly still figuring out some of the parameters because it's not live yet. But no, the windows could be a DIY install.
Correct, but you need to make sure that you retain the code or the label that's on each of those windows, because you'll have to prove that you purchased them. I would say, Dan, that you would need to do a home energy assessment. So it doesn't do, otherwise don't we have to verify that they're a single pane before you install? Otherwise, we would have no way of knowing that you are taking a single pane to a triple pane.
Exactly. Yeah, it does require the home energy assessment, and we do require either it's the NFC number, model number, or the actual label that comes on the window, so that we can verify that they are in fact qualified.
Okay, great. How often can someone have an energy assessment done?
So I think we've typically, Maggie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we typically limit to a year. Realistically, it doesn't make sense to do it, I would say, even cautiously every 3 years, especially where code is at and with weatherization levels of homes. But yeah, certainly if you want to have one every a year, more than happy to do it for you.
Yes, you are correct. It is a year.
Okay, great. If someone already invested in mini splits, can they still get the rebate? What's the timeline on that?
So we typically require that, let's say if you installed in 2021, that the rebate was submitted postmarked by February 28th, the end of February. So within 2 months of the end of the year that they were installed in.
Okay, great. How about, someone wanted more specifics on solar panels and solar hot water heaters. I don't know if you want, how much detail you want to get into, but maybe a little more info on that.
Sure. So the Cape Lake Compact right now is not authorized to, we don't have a rebate program for solar, installing solar PV on your home. But that is ultimately the pairing of an electrically heated home, heat pumps with solar is the most, that is where you're going to see you're going to become cash positive instantly. If you are switching from oil or propane to heat pumps, your total energy burden will be lower, but you will be cash positive if you install solar, because there is something called the smart tariff in Massachusetts that's run by the Eversource utility, and you get a check every month for the amount of kWh that you are produced through your solar on your roof. The best place for information that I would go would be the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center and Mass CEC. Their website has great information on the smart tariff and what to look for in installing solar. Our general recommendation is be very, very cautious. Again, we have lots on our website. Be very, very cautious of leasing your roof to a third party. There are things called community solar, where there might be a solar field. There was one in Sandwich, I think, by the canal plant, that are great models to participate and not putting it on your roof. But make sure you pay very close attention. And again, CEC has great information before leasing your roof to a third party for solar. Solar hot water, Dan, we still have
those sources.
Pardon?
Could you put some links in the chat for those for CEC and so forth, just so we help people find them?
Sure. It's Dan, if you want to type what I'm talking, it's masscec.org. For solar hot water, we offer a rebate still, Dan, correct, for solar thermal?
We do. It's the rebate is a calculation based on the home size, and we see very few of them come through. But yeah, we do still have an offer, and it's one we're actually looking to expand statewide here at some point next year.
And just the last thing, there are lots of very, very good local solar installers in our community. So, I mean, you could just Google solar installers on Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, and Nantucket. There are lots of great solar installers that live and work on the Cape and Vineyard.
Okay, thanks. Someone recently replaced their hot water heater, and they have an 80-gallon tank, and they were told they could only get a rebate on a 50-gallon tank. Does this sound like that's the case?
Yes. So last year we did have a customer-facing mail-in rebate similar to how our space heating rebates operate. Now that rebate is at the distributor level, but I do believe there was a cap on that rebate. And there were also parameters around what fuel it was replacing.
Okay, thanks. Someone installed mini splits about 5 years ago, and they're wondering if today's mini splits are more efficient. Is it worth upgrading to a new mini split system?
So I think that totally depends on, you could have installed, the Ferrari of mini splits back then, or you could have installed, the Toyota Corolla of mini splits. So it really depends on what you installed and the efficiency that you installed 5 years ago. There's definitely been, leaps and bounds with the technology, including, we don't need to get into technology, but there's a number of improvements that have happened in the last 5 years. But again, it totally depends on the existing system and what you'd be looking to upgrade to.
And if you have that type of question, Dan, isn't it fair to say a great way to do that is to have a home energy assessment and specifically say that you would like somebody to look at your heating system to make sure it is a high efficiency heating system?
Yeah, definitely. In making sure that you have your model number available for that system so they can look up the relevant efficiencies.
Okay. Someone wants to know if they're getting new equipment and not replacing equipment, can they get rebates? Is it only when you replace it?
I don't know that I understand the question. I mean, somebody's getting a new heating system and one doesn't exist? I'm not sure I understand the
Well,
question.
yes, yep. Someone did have a cottage that currently has no heat or AC and they're getting a new system. Does that qualify?
So I can take that, Maggie.
Yeah.
Traditionally, the way the programs are operating now, last year we did have an offer available where we didn't require that it was displacing an existing fuel type. And with the way the current program is structured, we are requiring that it's replacing something existing, and don't have an offer available for a totally new system if nothing exists currently.
I would add, if that scenario is you're literally just installing a heating system, which in a cottage, or is it a retrofit, meaning that you're doing either a renovation or an addition? Because if it's a building without heat, it's got to be a building without potentially without insulation. So there may be, again, on that one, I would encourage the person to call the Cape Light Compact and speak with staff to find out, and we look at the plans to see, is there anything there? But if it's literally just slapping in a heating system and there's nothing there, I agree, Dan's correct. But again, what are you doing in the building? Is it a renovation? Because you're trying to take a structure that was never meant to be year round and you're now turning it into a year round house. And that requires more than just putting in a heating system.
Okay, great. I think, incentives for home addition projects.
We do, as Dan talked about, we do have a renovation and additions program. And that is one where you would call the Cape Light Compact as soon as you have your blueprints, and we would send them to our vendor, ICF, and their engineering team, and they look at what you're proposing to do. They may make recommendations to, increasing insulation level, or they will calculate what, if any, incentives they can bring to the table to help you with your renovation and addition.
Okay, great. Okay, I'm going to pass it back to Jeff here. That's most of the questions that came up in the chat.
Somebody just typed in, because I saw it pop up, about building a garage with an apartment above it. If that person wants to reach out to me individually, it depends. In some communities, Wellfleet, if that is dedicated to a moderate income or a year round. So it really depends upon what's happening in in that building. So I would need to know a little bit more specifics over what's going on. It may or may not be, we may or may not have anything to bring to the table. But again, if you're building a structure that's got an apartment above it, we want to make sure that it's insulated, as highly efficient as possible. So I would want to see the details on that one. And the best contact information for Maggie is my email address, which is mdowney@capelightcompact.org. And that's all in the presentation that Dan and I are going to send to Jeff.
Right. Look, behind Maggie is a mini split, I believe.
Yes,
up on the wall behind you.
Yeah, this is in
For those of you who
1970.
don't know what one looks like,
Can you see it?
there you go.
I live in a 1972 ranch, all electric house, and we converted to heat pumps in 2017. So I heat and cool my house with heat pumps. And I have never had an issue, even when it's been really, really cold. The only thing lesson learned, I will be very honest, is location. We put one of the I always get this backward. It's compressor. Condenser. We put the condenser on the wrong side of the house because that is the place where it gets snow drifts. The other condenser is perfectly fine. This one condenser, when we get blizzards occasionally, we do have to make sure that clear a path, otherwise it will be literally buried in snow. So you have to pay attention when you're locating equipment outside.
Well, you mentioned something that's important, I think, because heat pumps have had the reputation of not being great in super cold weather, which we New Englanders, even on temperate Cape Cod, know all about. But you're saying that on even the coldest days when it's down in the 20s or worse, you're not running around in outdoor clothing?
No, my husband believes in thinks long pants are overrated, so he wears shorts year round. So no, we're very comfortable. I will say this type of split doesn't go everywhere. So like in our bathroom, the bathroom still has baseboard electric resistance heat because we could not just the way so again, any type of heating system is you really need to pay attention to your home. These systems work great in big open areas, but if you have lots of little rooms, you're going do you have a ducted system? Can you use the existing ducts? So there's a lot on making sure you understand what you're doing and talking to a good contractor. That's why it's so important to use licensed contractors to understand how these systems work. But I've never had an issue with the heat coming out of my heat pumps.
That's fabulous, but I bet your house is really well insulated.
It is. We did a renovation and addition program.
I bet you had an audit.
Yep, we had an audit and we did insulation and new windows, new doors.
Yeah.
So
Carrie, how are we doing for questions? You think we're?
Well, another interesting one just came in about, are there any incentives to add the ability to control mini splits remotely? Is that, Ricky, am I asking that question correctly?
Yeah, so I can take that. There are definitely options out there. One example that I can think of off the top of my head is called the Flare Puck. I'd have to double check if they're eligible for the $100 rebate. The only requirement we have on that rebate is that it's Energy Star certified. And so as long as it is on there, it would qualify for the rebate. And you can go into the Energy Star website and see what's eligible out there.
And I saw a question, somebody said, where they're going to be installing mini splits, should we have a home energy assessment? You don't have to, but I would encourage you to, because you want to it helps to size these systems properly. There may be opportunities for insulation or air sealing that you would want to do before sizing the heat pumps for your home. But Dan, you can also do it. And I don't know if you want to talk about the timing of whether you do the heat pump first and the weatherization after.
Yeah, we generally recommend, if you're going for our whole home rebates, the
Nope,
assessment.
Dan just froze.
Oh. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, we do require that you have a home energy assessment for the whole home rebates. And that you complete a certain percentage of the weatherization requirements that are made during that. And again, that the whole point of that is to make sure that that really you're comfortable with the heat pumps when they're installed and that they're not having to work as hard to keep up.
Is it fair to say that the amount of money that you have in your pocket to disseminate to Cape homeowners has gone up substantially recently thanks to the roadmap legislation, or is that just wishful thinking?
So yes, our budgets are significantly higher because we planned for several 100,000 rebates for heat pumps. And just, people, I got to ask this question, just don't make everybody, we are fully reconciling. And what that means is we have a $45 million annual budget of ratepayer funds. If those dollars are not spent, say we only spent 20, and we were going to spend 40 every year for the next 3 years, because I remember I said we have 3-year budgets. So if we only spend half of that, that means we only collect the following year that much less, because they're fully reconciling. So we're never sitting on a bunch of money that isn't spent. The idea is we budget, then you reconcile, and every year we file an energy efficiency surcharge filing with the Department of Public Utilities so that we are fully reconciling and not sitting on ratepayer funds that don't get spent. But yes, our budgets have increased because we have the funds specifically for rich rebates for electrification.
Well, this has been fabulous. This is what I hope for. I mean, I wish I had created a poll about how many have had an energy audit. I started to do it and I was afraid I was going to mess up the Zoom, but the message loud and clear for me coming through here to all of you is get an energy assessment. They're free. We've had a couple over the years, and you get a 10-page report or more. I can't remember exactly. They go through crawl through the details of your house and give you all sorts of options on advice and options on what you might do. No obligations at all. And I don't mean to give a commercial here, but as a homeowner who's done it with 2 different houses, it's been invaluable. And often the simple things are very inexpensive. And now with this huge, ever increasing tranche of rebates, it just makes it that much more affordable. So this has met and exceeded my expectations for this presentation, Maggie. And Dan, just
Great.
thank you so very much.
You're
Do you
welcome.
have
2
any
questions
final
Yes, I
word?
want to just answer those 2 questions that came in, because I think it's really important, especially if you are not a Massachusetts resident. If you own a home and you have an electric account, you are eligible to participate in these programs. If you are a renter and you are eligible to participate in these programs. These are not programs, these are for, think of it as not necessarily where you live or your residence, it's the home. So if you have a second home on the Cape Vineyard, you are definitely eligible to participate in these programs, and because you're paying into these programs. And the last question is, yes, they dehumidifier. That's I think out of my heat pumps and having air conditioning, I love not running a dehumidifier anymore because my heat pumps dehumidify my home.
One last question just came in there. If someone installs solar, is there money to replace roof shingles before the solar is installed?
No, that's where I am. I have to replace my roof before I do solar. So I wish I could give you more positive answer, but the answer is no. We do not. There's no dollars available. You can do a commercial loan, a home improvement loan, obviously the things that you already know about, but there are no programs available for replacing your roof before solar. And you do need to do that.
Well, with that, unless, do you have any final words, Maggie or Dan? Do you have, I think this has been, as I said, wonderful.
No,
we just-
thank you.
we
Make sure
just-
you call, have a home energy assessment, and if nothing else, for peace of mind, to find out that your home is as efficient as it has as possible.
Great. Well, thank you all for attending. We had a good attendance tonight and just a terrific presentation. Thank you so very much.